We've been asked to have a look at the condition of the roof in the gutters at number 11 Seymour Grove in Camberwell. So this is a residential development, multi-storey, and it's probably around 60 years of age. Now, unfortunately, the roof is well and truly past its use-by date. It has been painted before, and I think that was in an attempt to extend its life. But look, it was clearly rusting out already before the paint job occurred, and it may well have been some sort of rust-inhibiting or rust-converting paint. Well, that may have been what they told you. But realistically, look, there's no such thing as a rust converter. These are products that the manufacturers claim will alchemically convert rust into another element, and that's fairly fanciful. And you can see by your own experience that whatever it was that they put on there has done absolutely nothing to extend the life of the roof, because the rust, which is a chemical reaction as the steel ages, has not stopped rusting. It's just continued to rust underneath the paint. Rust inhibitors, they do work, but they're designed to be put on steel before it rusts. Now, it's all way too late for this roof. It was rusting very heavily, as you can see, before it was painted, and now that rust is on the edge of perforations throughout. And given the minimal fall that this roof presents, when it does perforate, you can expect very serious water ingress events to occur with potentially quite bad damage inside as well. And unfortunately, things like insurance coverage is not even on the table. When it's this badly rusted, they don't have to cover any damage, obviously, because the roof has to be maintained. That's all part of the deal generally. So replacement is the only thing that we are going to discuss, and we strongly advise that you don't consider anything else, because you'll just be throwing your money away. The underlying issue with this building is the lack of fall. It's only about 0.3 and 0.5 of 1 degree, so well and truly outside of what the manufacturers stipulate. You can see here by their literature that even the better types of steel, like a clip lock for instance, still needs to be as a minimum 1 degree. It's probably okay. When this place was built, there wasn't any regulations surrounding that, but now things have changed as they figured out that flat roofs, if they're too flat, they don't work very well. So they have changed the regulations. So if you don't do something about the pitch, obviously you will not have a warranty, because the manufacturers have specified 1 degree and it won't be. But even worse, back to the insurance companies, they won't have to cover any potential damage that might occur in extreme weather events as a result of the underpitched roof, because they can say that the roof is not fit for purpose. In other words, it was installed outside of manufacturer specifications and it failed for that reason, and they would be quite legally okay to do that, unfortunately. So no insurance, no warranty on a roof that underperforms in Melbourne's increasingly severe weather situations is obviously not a good thing. So you do have to address that reframing of the roof. Look, it is quite structural in nature. You can see by these images how we go about doing it. It's not just a matter of putting in a few bits of timber. We effectively have to bring it up by a couple of 100 mil in a lot of areas. And that means putting new framework, new roof trusses, structural battens throughout there. And that does trigger the requirement of a building permit. You can see by this literature, pretty much anything structural needs a permit these days. But also, if you're looking at structural battens, you definitely need to get a building permit. The reason for that is that the Victorian Building Authority are regulating this quite closely. They don't want roofs to blow off because they haven't been adequately tied down and what have you. And when you get a building permit, you also have to have an independent building surveyor involved in the project. Now, a surveyor is somebody that's independent. He's got the relevant industry knowledge and skills to be able to monitor the work that we do. He is engaged to oversee the stuff that we do. He'll conduct inspections and provide certification at the end of the job so that you know that everything's been done properly, and he reports back to the Victorian Building Authority. So good for you guys, because it's a level of supervision that you wouldn't otherwise have, but obviously it adds a lot of red tape and some expense to the job as well. It is the law, unfortunately, so there's no sidestepping this, but we need to have the building surveyors who will obtain a building permit. He needs architectural drawings in order to do that. Sometimes engineering is required. There's quite a few different council permits, and it's a long and slow process. So this is quite critical as well. You can expect to probably have to wait 8 to 12 months from when you book the job. And that's not only because of the permit process, which does take a long time, it's also because of the lack of companies out there that are able to do it. We're registered builders and licensed plumbers, which are the two requirements that you have, but there are very few companies that can actually take this job on, and as a result, we unfortunately are in very high demand, and it means that our services sometimes do take quite a while. It will get done, but just keep that in mind when you're making your decisions, that there will be a lengthy waiting period, which is pretty much unavoidable, unfortunately. Now, there's one more compliance issue to talk about. There's a box gutter in this roof which runs in between the two sections of roofing sheets, as you can see here, and then it discharges around a corner that's non-compliant. The depth and the size of the box gutter is insufficient. It's meant to be 200 wide and 75 deep. It would struggle to be either of those, but that change of direction is a very big concern, not only from a compliance point of view. You can see here that it's not allowed to have a change of direction. It's got to run in a straight line. So it's not only from a compliance point of view, but also from a functional point of view. You don't want water trying to turn a corner when it's over the top of a building. Extreme weather can flood it out, obviously. So what we're going to do is reverse the direction of that box gutter. At the moment, it's discharging that way. We're just going to discharge it out the other end. We're going to drop a rain head in at the top corner there, and then a new downpipe down that wall, and then we're going to obviously have to discharge it out to the street. Now, that side of things we don't do, but we can put you in touch with somebody that will do it, but we'll take care of all of the redirecting of the water, the introduction of a new discharge point for the roof, so a new rain head and the new downpipe there. So the scope of works pretty much is going to be as follows. Safety side of things, we need a scissor lift, crane lift, and perimeter railing. We'll also need a method of access, so a scaffold tower with a stairway in it to get us up quickly and safely. The old roof comes off a section at a time. The framework is done. Obviously, that surveyor is keenly interested in pretty much everything that we do, and he'll be conducting his own inspections for his report. An insulation blanket, which is a thermal upgrade we're going to introduce, is a 75mm condensation blanket, so that will be installed underneath the new steel, and the new steel is going to be a clip lock, a new and improved version of what you've got, but in a heavy gauge, and the finish is going to be colour bond, and that's another massive thermal upgrade. Your plain steel can hit 110 degrees Celsius, even on a 37-degree day, and obviously much hotter than that when the temperatures ramp up even more. The white colour bond, though, in the same conditions, would only hover around 55, and that's a massive amount of heat that's not going to go into the building. All of the associated flashings will be replaced, of course, perimeter capping, deck-tight flashing kits around any pipes in the roof. Gutter system will be replaced, the external one. We're going to introduce overflow now. Spacer blocks will go on the fascia, so if the water fills up, it's got a discharge point between the back of the gutter and the fascia. New downpipes with rain heads at the top of each one. That box gutter is going to be reversed in direction and now discharge out the other end. A new rain head will be positioned there. Downpipe as well, taken down to the ground floor there. As I said, you will have to engage the services of a drainage plumber, which we can help you out with. We'll put you onto somebody anyway, and they would quite simply take that discharge underneath the ground and then discharge it onto the street gutter. We'll check the elevation there, that should be fine. And that is pretty much it for the main scope. Just a couple of options. One's going to be to encapsulate all of the timbers up there in steel with a colour bond finish, no more maintenance, which is good, and no requirement for painting once that's been done as well. The other one is the safety system that we're going to be quoting you for. Part of that is going to be access onto the roof, which is a drop-down ladder and an access hatch to get the tradespeople quickly and safely up there, and then a series of anchor points so that they can harness up while they are on the roof. Look, that's pretty much it, I think. We like to do the video. It's a good way of getting our basic point across. Of course, if you'd like to have a chat with us or meet us on site, more than happy to do that as well, so feel free to just contact us in the office. Keep watching this video for examples of work that we've done. Thanks very much for your time. Bye-bye.